forward to this wonderful session. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. It's very nice seeing all the folks out here in the evening. And as you said rightly, it's a cold evening, and hopefully the talks will warm everybody up a little bit, at least. All right. So first of all, thanks, Ramesh, for getting me introduced to this wonderful group, and really appreciate that. And Swati, you have been extremely helpful, and I really appreciate it. So can we jump straight to the topic?
Yes, please.
I would just like to add one thing. I've known Mr. Meda from the year 2000. He's an incredible person. He has actually even taught at Ivy League universities, but he's had the very unusual exposure of meeting different people from around the world, even spending time with Red Indian people, native people also, apart from many other things. He is retired when he was just 35. He's helped thousands of people in transforming their lives. I know that personally. And even now we keep in touch with him. Of course, he's now a good friend of mine, but people from micro unit where we used to work earlier, where we were associating, even now keep in touch with him for these. He's got a special quality of really making a difference to many people's lives. So that's what I wanted to just add.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Okay,
So,
over to you.
Thank you. So we are going to talk about pre-visualization today. What I was going to request is slightly different format from what Sajani explained. If anybody has any specific questions ahead of the talk, probably I could take those questions and cover them during the talk. And also at the end of the talk, probably we'll have a lot more questions coming in, and then we could resolve that. So is there anybody with any specific questions, thoughts, ideas that you think I should be covering? And I'll definitely make an effort to do so.
Anyone, please ask your questions. I don't think there are, so we'll continue.
Wow, very interesting topic then. All right. So we're going to talk about what is pre-visualization. Before we get into pre-visualization, let's talk about what is success, right? So everybody wants to be successful, but what is success? So it is defined by many people in many different ways. I'll give you my definition of it. Success is something that you achieve, and whatever you're perceived as wanting to achieve, you achieve that. That's about success. So whether the other person or set of people look at that as a success or not should not really matter, because you have set out to do something and you've achieved it. Now, when you achieve something, there are two ways you could do it. You could say that I will start my step 1, go to step 2, go to step 3, and hope to God that I'll achieve that at some point in time. That's one way to do it. And it seems to work for a lot of people. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the pre-visualization is the reverse of that, right? In the forward planning, you start with step 1 and then say, I go to step 2, then I go to step 3, and then I go to step 4, and then I continue until I reach my goal. Now, pre-visualization does the reverse. Even before you take your first step, you sit there and think, what is it I want to achieve? Can I enjoy that? So let's take some typical examples, some simple, household examples, so that we're all kind of on the same page. Let's say that you're cooking something. You put an ingredient into your mix of recipe. And if you hope that that recipe turns out to be something, then you're doing the forward planning. There is an anxiety related to this because you hope that it's going to happen. And if it doesn't work, you probably are not going to be very happy there. Now, if you were to pre-visualize this, then you would taste that ingredient before you put it in, right? So you're enjoying the results before the task is complete, even before you start the task. So that is the basis of pre-visualization. So you start with the end in mind, you start enjoying the end, and then work backwards, right? So let's take some real life examples that we could try maybe today or tomorrow kind of a thing. So let's say that you're driving on a road and there are a lot of potholes on the road. And thanks to whoever created those interesting roads today for us. Now, if you watch the potholes, you can be certain that you're going to hit 1 or 2 of those potholes. right? Because this is how we are looking at, let me try to avoid the pothole. No matter what you do, you will hit the pothole. Now, if you were to say that between these two potholes, I see a possibility there. I see a road there. I see that I could possibly take that. And believe it or not, when you try it probably sometime soon, maybe today, tomorrow, you will be successful, right? You will go around the potholes or between the potholes. And this is the power of pre-visualization, right? So you have to put in your head the end result and enjoy it, right? It's as simple as that. So none of this is really new. And most of us who have certain amount of experience trying to do things that seem impossible would have done it already multiple times. I'll take you to one of the examples that I had to do this very strongly. There was this company called IRI, Information Resources Incorporated out of Chicago. And this company was earning a revenue of about $550 million a year. And it was at a loss at about $1 million every year. So whatever they were earning, they were already spending and they were at loss. So we bought this company for $110 million, right? Now the question is, how do you transform this company from loss-making to profit-making, right? So I had to sit there and think about, number one, what do I want it as an end state, right? End state is I want this to be profitable. I want everybody to be enjoying it. Now, once I visualize that that is exactly what I want, I enjoyed that particular state for the organization. But we had not taken the first step either. Then I started looking at how, if I already achieved it in my mind at least, how did I achieve that? How long did I take to achieve that? Let's say I took a year to achieve that. What did I do 11th month? What did I do on the 10th month? What did I do on the 9th month? When I work backwards, then I begin to kind of see lights, right? If I were to do the forward planning, then I would look at, now I need to achieve that. What do I do first? What do I do second step? And there is no clarity whether I'm going to achieve that or not. So this impossible task of trying to achieve this was done in less than 8 months. And today it has become an interesting study for a lot of people who want to look at it. So that was achieved through pre-visualization because I was able to understand the results. Now let's look at the ski. Those of us who have had some opportunity to ski, if you're amongst the trees and you see a lot of trees, you're almost certain that you hit a tree. Now, if you see the expert skiers, they don't seem to do that. What exactly are they looking at? They're visualizing going between the trees because they see the path. Whatever you think will happen to you. If you see the path, you get the path. You think about the tree, you hit the tree. Right? So when we talk about all this pre-visualization, can it be applied everywhere? No. It depends on where do you want to apply. And yes, it can be applied in personal life. If you have personal goals to achieve, let's say I want to be spiritual, I want to help somebody. Yes, I could definitely enjoy the movement or the end state and work backwards, right? This is where it starts with pre-visualization, enjoying your end results ahead of time. Second, create the plan in reverse, not the forward, right? Number three, now that you have goals to chase for specific time periods, you start chasing the goals. Now, is pre-visualization always a positive thing? No, it doesn't have to be. When you pre-visualize, you could look at positive results that you're trying to achieve, but you could also look at the 4 negative results that it could also achieve. So you are ready with both positive and negative, best and the worst scenarios. So you can do all the scenario planning ahead of time, and you enjoyed or you understood what are the different things that could have happened and what could have caused it, because you work backwards. You say that this project is going to go for a toss, and what did I do wrong for it to get to that state, right? So these are the different things that we do. In pre-visualization, again, I'm just going to recap very quickly. Pre-visualize, enjoy the results. Number 2, do the reverse planning. Number 3, the reverse planning gives you the goals and chase those goals, which are going to be smaller in nature. Now, when we talk about goals, there are two different things that we always have to think about. One is, what is a 30,000 feet view of what I'm trying to achieve? And what am I doing today, right now? So there is a bird's eye view of what we're trying to achieve versus worm's eye view of what I'm trying to do. So when you take 30,000 feet, the whole of Bangalore looks like a nice picture. When you're down on the ground, every blade of grass looks like something that's going to hurt you, right? So every time, it's so important that every task that we do as worm's eye view, we attach it back to the 30,000 feet view, right? So when I'm doing this is the tasks that I'm trying to achieve as a goal. And this little task that I'm going to do today now will contribute towards that goal. So as long as you're working with both ends of the spectrum at the same time, things seem to get in a particular line. Yeah. So for us to do this visualization at all, can anybody do it? So let's say today I decide to eradicate poverty in the world. So the first thing that hits us is it practical? Is it even possible? Should we do it? Should we not do it? Right? So in pre-visualization, you don't ask these questions, right? You just say that, let me enjoy the state where I can achieve it. I've done it already. I'm enjoying the state, right? And this helps us come out of the false positives, right? I'll take an example of a friend of mine who was an automotive engineer, and he was trying to create a vehicle that could work virtually without any fuel, right? Not the fossil fuels, at least. So he put in about 25 years of his life, finally achieved it. It was based on the fusion reactor and all kinds of things. But then, did he really achieve anything? Was it practical? Could anybody buy that? It's about $3.8 million. I don't know how many such sales happen through Cadillac. Cadillac has that on the Cadillac today that requires fueling every 300 years, right? So pre-visualization helps false positives. I'm trying to achieve something. I think about it. I start working towards it. But at the end of the day, when I achieve it, did I really enjoy it? Did I enjoy the end result? It could be positive, yes, did enjoy that, or it could be completely negative. I don't know why I did this. It was possibly not necessary at all, right? So these kinds of false positives can easily be eliminated once we do pre-visualization. We're enjoying the results and then say, why did I do that? Who did I do that for? And who are the beneficiaries? Were they benefited by that? So once you think about end state already, you possibly will have the right start, or you could even say, maybe this is not what I wanted to achieve. Maybe the thoughts are right, intentions are right, but what I want to achieve as a result, end result, maybe it's a wrong goal, right? So these are the kinds of things that it helps, achieve through pre-visualization. Then who could use the pre-visualization? Everybody could use pre-visualization in their personal lives. They have personal goals that they want to achieve. Personal goals, again, are personal as well as professional, but affects one individual. And professionally, a lot of managers and leaders who are trying to get to a particular end state will benefit from pre-visualization pretty heavily. And also the folks who are working against the clock, right? So you have the end objective set already, but you don't think you have enough time to achieve that. It could be resource issues, it could be any of that, right? So when you pre-visualize and start working backwards and say, I've already achieved it. It's not that I'm trying to achieve. Through pre-visualization, I've already achieved the end state. Now, how do I get to that? Is when I do the backward planning, it is much easier and faster, right? And there are a lot of people who are interested in continuous improvements, right? When you talk about perfection, a lot of people talk about, this is my end goal. Perfection is a journey and not an end goal. So the more you perfect, there is more to perfect. The question is, with the continuous improvement plan that you have for yourself, do you know what are the different milestones? Do you know what are the different points at which we could kind of stop and say, yes, I achieved this. Let's just now pre-visualize the next step that I want to do. So pre-visualization does not have to be at the global level. It could be at the local level as well. Now, there are a lot of research papers that are available out there, which talks about the effects of pre-visualization. Now, number one, when you're doing forward planning or you're trying to achieve something, there's always anxiety of unknown, could happen this way, could happen that way. So the self-control is not at its best. You don't give your best when you don't know what you're working with. But when you do the reverse planning, it is much faster and easier. And when you do the forward planning, every little thing seems to distract you. But when you do the reverse planning, those distractions are taken off of your plate because you already have set a plan to which you are playing out to. And reverse planning also gives you the calmness. You will be a lot more focused because you have already achieved the end result in your mind at least, and you're looking at minor goals that you're going to work with. And when you do the forward planning, the motivation initially is everybody's excited, let's go solve the big problem. Let's do this and let's do that. And as you go along, that motivation kind of fizzles out a little bit here and there. And over a period of time, by the time you go to the end, that motivation is almost lost for some people at some stages, especially when you're doing the work that you're asked to do versus you've taken the ownership to do that. But when you do the reverse planning, that motivation remains throughout constant, right? So this allows you to work with a pace that makes sense to yourself, to everybody around you, right? Now, are there any questions? Maybe I should stop, otherwise I'll keep going on with this thought process. So probably what I'll do is I'll stop at this point and take any questions that you might have, and then we'll come back, revisit. Would that be okay, Sajani?
Yes, that's fine. Any questions, anyone? Please ask any questions. I don't see questions coming.
Well, in that case, possibly we should go ahead and end the session.
No, please. Okay, go ahead, ask your question.
Sir, like as you said, pre-visualization is good. I understand.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you very well. Could you please speak up a little?
Yes. So pre-visualization, I understood the concept. But when you come back, reverse planning, step by step, what if you fail or what if you lose at that step? What to do?
Yeah. See, we talked about three concepts, right? One is pre-visualization. You already enjoyed the end results, right? And then reverse planning is at the macro level, right? And the macro levels has set of goals,
Okay.
right? So when you're trying to achieve the goal, it takes a bunch of things, right? It takes resources, it takes alignment, it takes certain work to be done.
Okay.
So at that stage also, you can pre-visualize and say, this is what can happen in a positive way, and this is what could happen in a negative way, right? So in your mind, at least, Swati, you have played out the scenarios that are necessary for you to think about. So even failures are already thought through, right? So that scenario planning is done already for the failure. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? We can't hear.
I guess the phone is on the it's probably on the mute. You might want to unmute yourself.
All right, any other questions? We can't hear you.
Question, we don't hear you.
Please unmute yourself.
You can hear me now?
Yes,
Now we can hear you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a question.
Certainly,
So
please.
I find goal setting for the future easier. Okay,
Correct.
so when I say goal setting, it is like you set realistic goals, but in this pre-visualization, probably we set goals which are not so realistic. because I'm already imagining that I achieved it. And one of the key
Absolutely.
points in goal setting is smart setting, and that are realistic is very important.
Correct.
Right. So now pre-visualization may make me set something which is far-fetched, and that will only lead to disappointment.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So,
very true.
I'm just wondering why this is better than future goal setting.
Okay. Number one, it is not better than future goal setting. It's not better than forward goal setting. It's one of the tools to achieve, right? So it is not. I'm not suggesting this is better than that, right? What I'm suggesting is that this is one of the possibilities that you might want to explore, right? In terms of goal settings, when you do the forward goal setting, right, you are going by the constraints that you are aware of.
You're going by the right.
You're limiting yourself with the constraints, right?
Okay.
When I say that, let's say we remove the poverty, Chitra, could you just imagine for a second that there's no poverty in this world at all?
Okay.
It doesn't hurt, right?
It doesn't hurt.
And if you do the forward planning, would you ever plan towards achieving, let's say, removal of poverty in next 15 seconds in the world?
So can I say this is only for the larger goals?
No, it's available for all goals of all kinds. Now, Chitra, for a minute, just because you believed that there could be poverty elimination, removal in this world.
Yeah.
Let's say that today, in next 15 seconds, we abolish currency across the world.
Okay.
Right? There is no currency whatsoever. I can walk into any shop, pick up anything that I want, and he'll go fulfill or replenish the orders from his suppliers, free of cost, everywhere. Okay. So, is it not possible that in next 15 seconds we can remove the poverty?
It doesn't seem possible to me.
Right? Yeah. See, this is where the forward planning and reverse planning differ.
Okay, right? Got it. Yeah, right? Now it's clear. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So forward planning constrains you. The more you're experienced, the more failure points that you see, points of failures. You're trying to achieve something against the failure points. The reverse planning, eliminates those failure points or practical experiences that you have.
Got it.
Now,
okay, yeah, that's
personal potential for every human being is extremely high. Okay, so speaking from anatomy point of view, every human being can lift a truck single-handed.
Okay.
This is the anatomy of human being. Show me one person who has done it.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason is we are limiting ourselves by our belief system.
Conditioning of mind. Okay. Right.
Correct? So if you were to do the reverse planning and you assume that it can be done, right? One of the things that, since you're a soft skill trainer,
yeah.
One of the things that's done in management training is to move the wall.
Pardon me? To move the?
Move the wall, a concrete wall.
Yes.
You just stand there and you try to push the wall to a different location.
Correct.
The minute you say that, how stupid are we to try to push a wall that's made of concrete and we know it cannot be done.
Yes.
Right? Now, if you close your eyes and assume that you're moving, trust me, you'll enjoy moving it.
Okay. Yeah. That makes
now,
sense.
Another example is you could try that at home with a bunch of people around.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody sits on a chair.
Yeah.
And with one finger each, let's say 5 participants, do you think you can lift that person up with sitting on the chair? Answer is no. Give it a try and surprise me and surprise yourself.
Okay.
Right? This is where the limitations are removed.
Okay.
Unless you remove the limitation, you're not going to get into your full potential.
True.
And
okay.
Whatever we see around us, Chitra, is only 7% of the visible world. 93% of everything around us is not even visible. So we are trying to depend on 7% of our senses to achieve 100%. Right? So the reverse plan allows you to use your resources to the max. That's all. So is this better than forward planning? No.
No.
Is it better in certain areas? Certainly. Is it applicable universally? No, it's not.
Yeah.
I appreciate the question.
Definitely.
Any follow-up questions for me?
It completely answers, yes.
Do you have any follow-up questions for me though, Chitra?
No, nothing. Absolutely, it answered my question. I'm absolutely happy with the answer. Yeah.
Hopefully that helps you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
No questions?
I have another question.
Yes, Ramesh.
Sajani.
And I'd like Ahalya to keep herself on mute. Your audio is on, Ahalya.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
It's still on.
Ramesh,
Yeah.
Ramesh, what you were saying was that I definitely have experienced it. As pre-visualization, you probably even have come across such concepts in the movie, the famous movie, The Secret, and other places where you visualize and live you start living that future dream. And many times when you start living that dream, a kind of probably an unforeseen or unknown strength comes from within, because you're driven by the joy and the sheer exhilaration of that dream to do things that you would not have done if in the normal forward planning process.
Absolutely.
Like suppose I want to achieve certain career or lifestyle goals in my life, or even spiritual goals for that matter. If I literally start seeing myself as a person who's already achieved those goals, the way I'll conduct myself will be very different from the person who is taking it forward step by step. So I've actually experienced it in my life, but my challenge is how to keep sustaining this belief. Sometimes, you lose the belief or the faith, or you're not able to replicate it. Like, for example, many times when in yoga, when we first do Shavasana, the first time when we experience Yoga Nidra, it is because it's a completely unknown. We go with the instructor and we just let the body go and we relax completely. And when we finish the Yoga Nidra, we are shocked. In just 10 minutes, we feel so rested, like as if we have slept for 5-6 hours. That's the first time and second time experience. But as we keep going through the Yoga Nidra in the future classes, it doesn't come across as such a powerful experience anymore, because it suddenly becomes known. It comes into the known dimension from the unknown. So how do you keep regenerating yourself in this pre-visualization approach?
So Ramesh, you talked about the first step of pre-visualization, which is enjoying the end result.
Yes.
Right? But there are 2 steps to it that should follow, right? And first is the reverse planning. So if you think that, like, let's say that you achieve nirvana in next 3 years, right? You enjoy the state of nirvana today, but now that you have achieved it already, ask yourself a question. What did I do 2.5 years? What did I do at second year? What did I do at 1.5 years, right? Then you get the answers as to what you should have achieved by then, right? That also tells you what you should be doing this month, this week, and today to have achieved that, right? So if you just do the first step of pre-visualization, then you're daydreaming, which is good. It's a good start, but it needs to be followed up with other 2 steps, right? And pre-visualization is not only for the positive results, right? Look at the negative results and then say, I'm not able to achieve the results. Why did I not achieve? Then you understand the restrictions that stop you from achieving it. And now you're aware of those restrictions, possibly could work around it or eliminate it totally, right? Something that I did not really want to touch upon today, but possibly I should, based on the couple of questions I received so far. There is an old saying, when student is ready, the teacher arrives, right? And when student is really ready, teacher disappears, right? So the way I look at it, or the way I understand it, is very simple. When you do this pre-visualization and your mind is set to do certain things, let's assume for a minute that we are giving out certain vibrations into the collective, right? So anybody else in the collective with similar thought process or matching thought process or frequencies will somehow or the other get connected to you, right? I don't believe there are coincidences in the world. I don't believe Ramesh asked me to talk today just out of the blue, right? So if you start believing in that, the signals that go out of you in whatever fashion science cannot explain, will bring in the like-minded people together, right? So that is where I think the pre-visualization is really, really helpful. Think through, talk about it, share your thoughts. If everybody appreciates an idea, possibly your idea is not that great. If 20 people tell you, what's wrong with you? What are you trying to do? Then possibly you're heading in the right direction, right? So you're not trying to please people. You're trying to achieve what you strongly believe in. And that aligns with people that have similar thought process. And possibly you lose relations with people who possibly are not with the same thought process. It's like a train journey, right? You're traveling in a train. There are people that get in, the people that get off. And people who get in, you probably get friendly with them, you talk to them. People who get off, thank you very much. But life moves on. You are happy with yourself, you're happy with your journey, so is everybody else. So trying to latch onto something for too long may or may not work too well. So these are the kinds of things that you could do with pre-visualizations. Ramesh, did I answer your question at all?
Yeah, you did. And then, in fact, there are a couple of other questions that have come up. One is that you touched upon two things that we are quite familiar with in this group. One is that people are in your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. You know, that is one thing. And the other thing was, you said something quite profound. When you said, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. This is something that we're all quite familiar with in this group. You know, when the student is ready, the guru appears. Now, this really works even not just in spiritual realm, but even in the material realm, where you really are ready for something, and the right kind of book or person or technology or something is exposed.
Absolutely.
You get exposed to it. But the profound thing what you said was, when the student is really ready, the teacher disappears. Could you elaborate that? What do you mean by that?
Sure. So when you're trying to do something, there are certain things that you have skills and thoughts and ideas for, right? And certain things that you don't, right? When you align yourself through your thoughts, that person arrives and he does his part of work or portion of area, you know, he contributes his skills, ideas, thoughts into you. Once you have received it, you possibly do not require the person forever. So the teacher has no relevance for what you're trying to achieve, right? So sometimes what happens is, you know, I took the step one, somebody helped me. Now I'm trying to go to the marathon. Just because he helped me, I latch onto the same person. Is that a positive or negative thing, right? So association is here for a specific task or area of work, right? I'm trying to achieve nirvana. So a guru appears, tells me, you know what, this is what you need to do. You know, this is where you are, and this is where you need to be, and here's the gap, and this is how you achieve the gap closure through these steps. Now that I've taken all that information in, and I practiced, and the guru says, yes, you're heading in the right direction. Do I still need guru? Right?
No.
Second thing is, if I latch onto that guru, there could be 20 other people like me who need his help. And if I latch onto him, am I doing a service or a disservice? Right? So any resource that we have at all, once we are done with utilizing it, we should release it with respect so other people could use those resources. Right? That's the thought that I had. I'm not too sure if that resonates with what you think.
It's very clear. Yeah, thank you. In fact, my guru, Sri M, would say the same thing. You know, guru is a remover of ignorance, and he just points the way. You cannot latch on to him and think, you know, either, you know, get stuck to him. The idea is not for you to latch on to me, but basically for me to remove your ignorance so that you can go forward with the strength that you have within you.
Right. This is the old Chinese saying, right? Give man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
Yes.
Right? So the guru should never tell you what you should do. He should point you to the direction, and you should walk the walk. Right? He's there as a pointer. He says that you might want to look in that direction, but I will not tell you what to see there. This is up to you to perceive and take in, and then let me know what you thought about it. Then possibly I could tell you other things that you might have looked at, or maybe you're right, maybe you're not right. So it's a facilitator in learning, right? And this is one of the fallacies of our current education system. It tells you A plus B equal to C. It doesn't let you enjoy making mistakes, learning from it. Mistakes teaches you more than the success rates. If you want to take advice, take from a person who has failed too many times rather than a person who claims to be successful, right? He tells you what to do and what not to do, really, right? So this is where Warren Buffett is not the best advisor in the financial world. Sorry about that.
That was, thanks, Ramesh. That was really powerful. Actually, what I got was, if we really go through the process ourselves rather than having our hand held, we become strong in the process, and we can go forward, and we enjoy actually that the transformation from who we were to who we have become through that that inner work that we do. That makes us much more powerful than just having somebody else hand holding us and taking us through a process. That was very powerful.
Think about a simple thing. If I ask you to do something, is there value for it? Probably not, because only when you fail, you understand the value of success. So allowing somebody to fail is never a wrong thing. Allow people to fail. What's wrong with it? Right? But don't repeat the mistake. Then it becomes a sin. Right? So making the mistake first time, not intentionally, but it happens as part of the learning. And the guru helps you understand that it's a mistake and heads you in the right direction. It just nudges you, right? And that, I guess, is where we are headed, right?
Yeah, thank you. I got that. In fact, I really got a powerful message when you said take advice from those who have failed and learn.
Absolutely.
Rather than those who just succeeded all the time, because they might have missed certain gaps.
They're not successful all the time, but they tell you they're successful all the time. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I got it.
So, Chitra, probably you have a question for me?
I wanted to share something.
Please.
I'm Janakiram, and then I will ask some clarification.
Please
now, listening to you made me think like this, we are in mid-December, and many people will take New Year resolution. So instead of that, maybe take 30th June, what I would have achieved, or 31st December 2023, what I would have achieved.
Absolutely.
And then look at pre-visualization of that, reverse planning, and then goal setting. I think that may work out better than the New Year resolutions, which we never keep up. Am I correct in my understanding?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, perfect. So you have already, instead of saying that what I want to achieve, the only correction that probably could happen is you enjoy that you have already achieved it.
That's right. Correct.
You get to the mindset that you've already done that.
Yes.
Right? So that also avoids a false positive, right? Let's say that I wanted to build a house in front of my house.
Yes.
Right? So when you start enjoying that, you say, hey, was it necessary? Don't I have a large enough house already? Do I want to clean some more space? Am I making a statement for others? Is that helping me? So that could avoid the false positives as well. And then you get to things that are really necessary for you. And the whole task of going towards it, you'll enjoy the whole journey as well.
That's right. Thank you. And then, I don't know, maybe I missed it during your talk, but I just want, can you share something about your work on Meda Managed Ecosystem Development Agenda?
Certainly.
And particularly with respect to amongst people on autism and non-urban folks, and whether any of these methods are applied?
Certainly, certainly.
Thank you.
The initial thought was very simple. I struggled to get my first job. I know how difficult it was because I had nothing to offer besides my education. There was no experience. So people would say, hey, do you have experience? No. I need job for experience. So it was a catch-22. And then I left the country after several years, and I was stayed out of the country for about 25 years, and then when I came back, I realized one thing. There's problem in India, and that problem is problem of plenty, right? So there are too many resources and too many good resources. So the good resource also looks very average because it's available everywhere. And unless you provide certain environment for them to succeed, they probably don't even know their personal potential. And that was where I started with Meda Foundation. And the thought process is, if I help one person, then I can even help one person. What next? I can take care of the person whole of my life and their life. What next? The scale doesn't work there. So the way I looked at it is, if I create an ecosystem, self-sustaining one, right? It automatically takes care of some people, and that some people will take up more people. I'll tell you specifically what happened 6 months ago. I have a farmhouse in a place called Hunsur, and I happened to be there. And there is this lady that approached me and said, hey, you know what, if you give me like 8,000 rupees, I'll buy a swing machine, and I probably will be able to do something for myself. So I told her, look, you're helping yourself. What about others who are like you? So she's like, there are other 8 people who want to possibly do something similar. So I got all the 8 of them together, took them to a tailor that I already knew within the same town, and she was overloaded with work, right? So I aligned these 8 girls who already knew sewing, got them machine each, right? So 8 times 8, that's all what I did. And then I spoke with the tailor and said, whatever you want to pay them, you pay me first, right? I gave 50% of that back into them, and I held 50%. Once I got my money back, I let them have 100% of it, right? Now, what did I invest? 0. What did I achieve? 8 people being employed. Now I worked with them and I said, if you don't help one each, possibly I'll take the machine away. It's unfortunate. The only thing that works in this world is the fear. So as some movie said very clearly, we are not God-loving people, we are God-fearing people, right? So once I created the thought process that they must help, otherwise they lose out on what they already have going for themselves. And today, in 6 months, it's 38 people, 0 effort from me. This is self-sustaining ecosystem, right? Second example, there is this thing called US medical billing. When you go to a doctor in US, you always have to have medical insurance, right? And then the doctor produces the bill, and somebody has to process the bill with the insurance to get the money to the doctor. And this is very involved, right? So I started this unit in Hunsur with people who have close to 0 knowledge, right? And trained them. This is 3 years ago. And with the BOT thought process, I built the whole thing with my money. I took my money back, handed it the whole division to the person who started it, who is a subject matter expert. Today, it's 630 people, right? For me, if I'm involved in something, I achieve very limited results. But I involve others and create an ecosystem that is self-sustaining, then it grows on its own. So I can go back into creating one more self-sustained ecosystem. So that is what Meda Foundation does. It finds opportunities where it can create more jobs. If I get a person a job, it's not going to create more jobs. If I help him create more jobs by starting something and hand-holding them through the growth phase, stabilizing it, then walking away from it, not because I want to help them, but because I want to create employability. And that's how, in my opinion, we reduce the crime rate in India. right? Now, second part of it, I do this only in non-urban areas, right? Because urban areas have enough and more help that other people are doing. In semi-urban and totally urban, nobody's helping them, right? So that's where I go and help. And I can talk about several things that we have done so far. Last count, 8,400 people have self-employment through Meda Foundation. And none of that is my work. I just put the seed in and it has grown on its own. I don't look at claiming any results out of that. Second, we work with children on autism spectrum, right? My son is autistic on a borderline, and I do know exactly what they're going, right? And that's the starting point. But then I realized way too many people are on the spectrum, they just don't know about it. So if you read the autism spectrum, possibly everyone in this particular thought here right now is on spectrum at some level or the other, right? Just because we don't know and we are closer to what is considered typical, we assume that we are okay, right? So we do a couple things there. Number one, sheltered employments. People who cannot go out and work, we put them together in a particular place, get them to work. Basically, it's about usefulness and meaningful engagement throughout the day. When you wake up in the morning, you should not feel, okay, let me eat, sleep again. You should look forward to doing something that's useful to yourself and people around you. And once you get that, you probably will have a fulfilled life, no matter at what age. Whether you are 800 years old or 8 years old, it's the same thing, right? That's the second thing that we do. One is sheltered employment. And second is we train them to work at home, right? They have an environment that they appreciate. There's an environment that they're very comfortable working in, right? So we create work from home opportunities for these people. Like, we have thermal printing, and we have, Vico printing and these kinds of things. And we also have block printing. So we bring them into the center, train them, and then get them to go home. But we'll also help them market the products that they produce. That brings the money back to them. They don't need money. But it is about respecting what they do. So these are some of the things that we do in Meda Foundation. Does it help? Should I elaborate?
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, certainly. Thank you.
So much. It's wonderful work that you've been doing.
It's not me, please. I'm just putting the seed in, and there are a lot of people working together to make it happen. So I'm just a catalyst. That's about it. And just for your information, I'm a certified lazy person. So anything below my neck doesn't work any longer. I can think, I can talk, I can do everything, but I'm not interested in putting my work. The minute I work something, I strongly believe I'm stealing somebody else's opportunity to work. So I don't work. I don't know if that is excuse for being lazy, but I guess that's what I do.
Right. Any more questions, anyone? I don't think there are questions. Would you like to carry on? Ramesh?
I'm practically done. If there are other people interested, then I can take to talk about specifics. Otherwise, I would love to leave it at this.
Oh, it will be interesting to know what are the challenges in bot.
Challenges in
Bot, what is that bot? Bot or what?
BOT, build, operate, transform.
Build, operate, transfer. What are the challenges? Because we all talk about big technology gap between developed countries, and we are developing country and all that. And so bot must be very challenging, to do.
Actually, no. BOT probably is the simplest thing to do. What typically happens is, when you think about pre-visualization and BOT, they work hand in hand. If you don't see something happening, it just will not happen, right? So if you see that it is possible to make it happen, then BOT works very well. For instance, when we talked about the sewing machines, right? I pre-visualized that this is going to grow to about 200-300 people within the city, right? And I saw how that could happen. It needed to get seeded with some people, encourage them to grow the whole network, right? So the challenge is there. Number one, do you have the input? As in, are you getting the regular work? Number two, do you have expertise and skills to make it happen? Number three, is there an output? Is there a market to take it up and bring value back into you? So it is called ETVX, entry, transaction, verification, and exit, right? So there are certain criteria that you think about. What are the entry criteria for this, right? So once you've resolved those entry criteria, and then you go through transaction, you get things to happen, right? Once it happens, how do you verify that it has happened, right? That's the verification process. Then the last process is the exit process. When you exit, what needs to happen? So entry and exit are very clear, and transaction and verification is very clear as well. So once you understand this whole process, you could take a large ETVX, which is a pre-visualization, break it to your goal, create another ETVX for it, right? So once you start creating that, the whole process becomes fairly streamlined, right? So interestingly, I need to touch upon something very interesting here. Human mind is not capable of working anything more than 5 different things at the same point in time, right? It gets very confused and frustrated at times. So it's so important that whatever you take as end goal, break it into 3, giving room for 2 more to come in later, right? So if you take anything and you try to break it into 3, then you're simplifying it to the extent that you say, can it be this simple, right? If you want to cook something, if you want to super simplify it, then you say, assemble the ingredients, cook the ingredients, enjoy the recipe, right? So it's not different no matter what you cook. It is super simplified. And then you take the first step and then break it into another 3. Take those 3 steps, break into 3. Now your head or your ability to take that in is so easy, right? These are the kinds of techniques that you use when you do the pre-visualization, goal setting, and then trying to chase the goals.
Thank you, sir.
No, please.
If someone wants to learn more about MEDA, MEDA, how can they go about? Can you give your phone number, or how do they want to replicate or anything? They can consult you and.
Absolutely. Anybody can call me anytime. I'm free 24/7 as long as it's helping 3 categories: self, people they have influence with, and world in general. So should I give out the
put
number
the
here,
phone number on the chat, or are there any websites to see these? Or
I don't believe in websites. I don't market myself at all, right? I only go through reference. If you don't know me, maybe you should not be using my service. That's the way I'll work, right? My work is my sales guys. Now, if I work with a client, that client refers me to 10 other clients, right? That's the only way that I work all my life. I have no website. I will not create website. And with my Meda Foundation, till date, I've collected 0 donations. If I don't believe in it, if I don't put my money into it, why should anybody else believe in me? Right? So that is the way I work. So I give out my number. Please feel free. Let me just see where it is.
I can type it out, Ramesh.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you so much.
021, isn't it? That number.
Yeah, I have only one number, unfortunately, old man.
Okay. Yeah, I typed it out.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I must add that Ramesh Meda really is very easily accessible, because many times, even during emergencies, when I've called him, he's been there. But it's not just me, the experience of all the people who have met him, who I know through our company and through other sources, they have all they've all experienced that kind of, support and transformation also. So
I just have to say something very quickly here.
Yeah.
There was this gentleman called Bobby working with Microland when I came to India the first time in 2001.
Yeah,
and he was working on something that was extremely time sensitive. And Ramesh, you know Bobby, right? So somebody came in and asked Bobby for some help. And he said, hey, Bobby, could you help me with this? And Bobby said, yeah, sure. And he just got up and I said, Bobby, what's wrong with you? We're working on a task. Why would you just get up and go? And he said, Ramesh, think about it. If the gentleman came to me asking for help, that means that he trusts that I can help him. And should I or should I not respect that trust? I said, please go ahead. And that was a life lesson for me, right? So when I say I'm available, that doesn't mean that I'm doing any special thing. Somebody is respecting my thoughts and I should respect their thought. That's simple mutual respect, that's all.
And also I've realized that the reason why Mr. Meda is available so easily is because he's really got many aspects of his life sorted out. I mean, he literally retired at 35 and the basics are all taken care of. And he's now literally available with his pre-visualized intentions to support others. And that is what I've experienced practically. Yes.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Wonderful, really. And before, let's ask for some more questions. Anything?
When you said pre-visualization,
Yes,
results,
go.
reverse planning, and chase goals, right?
Correct.
So what are the specifics, any that, especially that reverse planning, can you give some steps?
Oh, certainly, it's fairly simple. So let's say that I want to be a strong guru in yoga in next 2 years. So I sit there and enjoy in my mind, I become guru. What does it mean to me? Right?
That is pre-visualization.
Correct. Now, I've already enjoyed it. This is when the next step comes in, which is setting up reverse planning. So if I've achieved it in 3 years, what did I do 2.5 years from now? Right? So what did I do 2 years from now? What did I do 1.5 years, 1 month, 1 week, today, this hour? Right? That's how it works out. It trickles down from the major objective.
Okay, got it. Right. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone?
Would it be okay to mandate that everybody must ask a question? No? Just wondering.
Okay. Anyone? I don't think. I think it's very clear.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Should we move on? Okay. So with that, I think we've come to the end of our program. Yes, any questions?
1 second, ma'am. I don't have any question. I just wanted to share my thought.
Yes, go ahead.
This
Swati.
session has a bit modified my thought process. That's what I wanted to share.
Good, very good. And I'm sure it's modified quite a few other people's thought process also. So with that, we've come to the end of the program, and I request Ramesh to kindly.
One quick sec, I think gentleman is trying to ask a question. Shiv, is that you?
Mr.
Oh,
Ramesh.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I liked your presentation very well. And regarding autism, I just want to tell you, there is a web series called The Good Doctor.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you whether you've seen or not, but it's
Yes,
really good. And since you're in the medical insurance processing and all that, no? So even I saw that. I am also in the medical insurance line. And I also help a lot of people. Yeah, I have an NGO where I have a tie-up with, Ramaya Hospital. I get a free treatment for anybody whoever comes to me who doesn't have insurance. And those who want insurance, I provide them insurance. So this good doctor
Does.
is helping me to find out, how the doctors feel. And that good doctor himself is an autism person who
Correct.
becomes a doctor, and it's a fantastic movie. Or it's a web series. I like that very much.
Yeah. Interestingly, anybody who has achieved anything at all in life out of ordinary is autistic.
Oh, okay.
So they are very, very popular in the world, in their personal lives, in their, they're probably the ones that are living with them are not as comfortable as we think they should be.
Okay.
Right? So autism is not a wrong thing. Autism is different. So when it becomes so different that it's not part of what you consider as normal as a society, they look different. That's all.
Yeah.
But do we know how to tap into their world? Should we bring them to our world, or should we get into their world? That's the question that one need to ask themselves. And once they answer that, they possibly have a lot more things to achieve.
There's a question coming from that. See, autism is something we normally associate with people who don't have proper, motor skills, and they look a little, people might call them abnormal, for example. They wouldn't be interacting, no social skills, and that kind of a thing. They also look like they are, mentally challenged. These are all typical ignorant kind of reaction from the world. Now, you said we might all be autistic in some way or other. How does that add up? And what do you mean by autism from that perspective, to understand it better?
Autism is an umbrella. It's not a single disease. If you look at something like common cold, the reason there's no cure for common cold is because it's a collection of over 1 million different kinds of colds, right? So you cannot have a specific thing say that, hey, this will eliminate your cold, right? Now, apply that to autism. Because it's a widespread spectrum,
yes,
there are all kinds of things that happen within the spectrum, right? So simple thing like, let's say, you prefer your house to be very clean. Nothing wrong with that. But if somebody is not clean within your family, you get upset, right?
Yeah.
So is that OCD? Is it a compulsive disorder? And medically, it is, right? Then you fall into autism spectrum already, right?
Okay.
So when you start looking at what defines as autism, one is the social interaction. Second is the language ability, right? And the third is the motor skills. It is not necessary that all the three exist for a specific individual, and it could, right? So in social interaction, do you get upset talking to certain people?
Yeah.
For whatever reasons? Or do you get upset with all people, or you're comfortable with people who are closer to you and not comfortable with people who are not closer to you? Then you're autistic, medically
But that
speaking.
applies to almost everybody, isn't it?
That's exactly what we're saying. That's how all of us fall into the spectrum at different levels, right?
Okay.
So let's take this example of lactose intolerance. People who cannot digest milk or who cannot break lactose, right? Do you know 100% of Indians are lactose intolerant? 100%, no exceptions.
Oh, I see. Then most of us drink milk. What happens there?
Yeah, none of us who are born in India can digest milk, right? So then we are all lactose tolerant. So if I drink milk, I get into the situation that I cannot breathe and I could die. How come it doesn't happen to you if you're lactose intolerant as well?
Yeah.
That's because the amount of reaction it shows on your body is so limited and so manageable that you don't think you're lactose intolerant. Same thing with autism, right? You think you're not autistic, but you are really. But once we normalize certain behavior patterns as, hey, it's acceptable in the industry or acceptable in the society, it's no longer considered autistic. That's all.
Interesting.
Excuse me, sir. What was the third one you said? You said social interactions, language, and the third, sir?
Motor skills. Specifically minor motor skills, not the major motor skills.
Motor skills.
Yeah, fine motor skills as they're called.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, anytime, please.
I also found one more thing I've observed from my son's previous school. My son was in a Waldorf school, where that particular school also accepted people who are children who are autistic and children who are suffering from Down syndrome. What I've experienced is these children, they can actually be spiritually much more sensitive, and they seem to be very well, the inner silence is much stronger. Like in meditation, normally we keep talking about observe your breathing, be mindful, become more silent within, that kind of experience is much stronger amongst these people, and they seem to respond very well to such, when one is more aware of such stimuli. Suppose we are a teacher or parent or such kind of children, when we approach them with this being in the moment and being self-aware, they seem to respond a whole lot better. So probably that could also apply to many of us too.
Yes, it would. So most of the folks on autism spectrum, they have heightened sensitivity, right? So let's say that we're all talking here. There's a dog barking 2 kilometers away from us, right? We tend to ignore that because we are focused on this and engrossed in this. But children in autism spectrum, they pay equal attention to everything that happens around. So the amount of input that they get, that they need to process, right, is extremely high compared to us. We tend to ignore. Simple thing like, do you know that you cannot see anything in this world without your nose coming in the way? Try looking at anything, your nose is in the way.
Never thought about that.
Do whatever you want, whatever direction. So did you realize that till this day, right? An autistic child cannot ignore that at all.
Oh.
Right? So this is where they have to process so many different things. If you were to ask as autistic child to bring a glass of water to you, you would assume that they didn't hear you at all. And 2 minutes later, they bring water to you. It's like, wait, I asked 2.5 minutes ago. But your request was lined up. And once all the sensory inputs were kind of addressed, your request came up. Right? So apply this to a busy professional. He's sitting at work and you ask him, hey, can you come into the meeting? And he's looking at you like, hey, what's wrong with you? Kind of a thing, right? So is that not autistic behavior as well? Because they have so many things that are lined up in their mind that your request is kind of falling below a certain thing, right? But you expected the request to be complied immediately, right? So that's what kind of refers to what is neurotypical and what is not neurotypical, right? And neurotypical is not a science, it's set of accepted norms in the society, which changes unfortunately over a period of time.
Wow. So I suppose if we really, get below the skin and we're able to understand this concept, then we'd be able to understand each other as human beings much, much more than what is happening right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. That was really, this session really expanded my mind. Thank you so much, Ramesh.
Anytime, please.
Anyone else? Okay, before we end, I'd like to tell everyone that we have our satsangs every Thursday evening at 6:30. So kindly do come and tell your friends to come at 6:30 every Thursday. Now we have just 2 left for the year, and I'd like to tell everyone that next year, Dr. Hegde is having the Bhagavad Gita. Every Thursday, we will have 1 chapter. And these are all very, very qualified doctors, and they will be talking. So on the 5th of January, we begin the Bhagavad Gita, starting with chapter 1. So now we have come to the end of our program. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramesh Meda. And I request Ramesh to kindly propose a vote of thanks, followed by the Loka Samasta.
Thank you from all of us, sir. It was really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I would love to learn from each of you at some point in time.
Thank you so much, Sajani. Right, so I've known Ramesh Meda for, I think, maybe 20 years now. And truly is a remarkable person, as you just kind of experienced the tip of this today. But we have experienced it practically in our lives. He's like the man Friday, you know, who's always there to support you if when things go horribly wrong sometimes. You know, life can throw challenges at you, but he's always there. He seems to be always free. But then I realized when I sat in front of him, suppose I go over to the Meda Foundation and I sit in front of him, actually there are many calls that come in from different people and he handles them so well that it appears that he's free. But it's just that he's extremely efficient in what he does. And this level of intelligence is uncommon. I mean, he's one of the first people, incidentally, in the 80s who was working with the government and, you know, who used to design, who used to program for them in C. In those days, it was a new thing. And, you know, it is this level of intelligence that we have kind of tapped into. It might seem incongruous in the beginning, you know, but later on, as you start interacting with him, the layers open up, and what is hidden below is really amazing. I mean, like today, whatever he said about, let's say, for example, when you're ready, the guru appears, but when you're really ready, the guru disappears. It seems like a very oxymoronic statement, but when you unravel that, you know, statement, that is when your involvement in the unravelment suddenly starts opening up something for you. And this is, I think, what has been happening with people who have gotten in touch with Mr. Meda, for which I'm really deeply grateful. I'm sure even Swati, I mean, she's a person who knows him just recently, but she will also corroborate the effectiveness of a person who truly practices what they speak about. And that is what we've experienced today through pre-visualization, reverse planning and goal setting by Ramesh Meda. And you know, some things I also got was that if we like, you know, he's really being a space for people to transform. He's actually practically working in that area through his Meda Foundation and other endeavors. That if we in our lives to take back this value where we not just you know, learn or give fish to the people who we love, but we train them to fish so that they can look after themselves. Basically, we empower others in our lives, maybe even automatically through our ways of being. You can imagine then how much you know, good intentions can be multiplied and how much of a difference we can make, and we can truly be you know, a channel of the divine and make this world that Vasudeva Kutumbakam that we all talk about. So, you know, from that with that thought and with that deep level of gratitude to Mr. Meda and everybody else around here too, let us all sit straight with our back, neck and head aligned for the Loka Samasta. Let us be aware that we are all interconnected, and let us remember our loved ones, those who need help, who might need these prayers, because prayers have power. And that is what pre-visualization has also taught us. You know, when you really are fully invested in what you believe in, or what you visualize and what you dare to dream, you can make it come true. So let us do this Loka Samasta in that space. Take a deep breath. Let go. Just be in the moment and center yourself within. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu.
Ramesh. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This was really a wonderful session. And thank you, Mr. Ramesh Meda. It was brilliant. Thanks a lot. And we look forward to meeting you in person shortly.
Love that. Love that. Love to do that.
Yes. Right.
An eye opener in many ways.
Yes, it was.
Thank you, but I know it's not true. You're a soft skill trainer and you know a lot more than I do.
No, but there was a lot for me to learn, and really it was wonderful. It was really wonderful.
Thank you. Feel that way. I would love to learn from you as well. And do give me an opportunity to learn from you, please.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. And we look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Do bring your friends along for our sessions. Goodbye.